All right, we are back here with the Premier Virtual Roundtable with the people behind the scenes, the client success team. We have Jordan and Glenn. Excited to be back on here with you guys at the roundtable today. Today is something that's really passionate about me, right? And we know I'm passionate about everything, but to me, when I came from, in-person events and back when I was just attending job fairs, I always believed in efficiency. And to me, this interview scheduling tool couldn't make things more efficient, right? And when you look at it, and think about the job fairs for everybody who's watching this, when you think about an in-person job fair, and all the candidates are kind of standing in line and they're holding their resumes. They're waiting in this long queue that they don't know how long it's going to be until they get there. Maybe they can judge and say, okay, it's going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, but they don't really know what's in front of them or anything. And as a recruiter, I may not know that 10th person back is the best candidate for me. So do you want to have hopes and wishes and dreams of when you're going to talk to a recruiter? Or wouldn't it be better to have a dedicated time that each recruiter can put on their schedule during that job fair? And then the candidates can come in and say, I'm going to have a conversation with this recruiter because they are recruiting for the industry that I'm looking for. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency is how we built this scheduling tool. And now we're going to get into it to really show you how the recruiters set it up, how the candidates can go in and see how that interaction makes it efficient for you, right? Because you as a host, when you're watching this, you want to think about your employers and your job seekers. How can I make life more efficient for them? Sometimes we have to, as a host of an event or even after this, we have to sit back and say, it's not what I like, it's not what I feel, but what is going to make life easier and better for my end users. So we know I could talk about this for a long time. So Jordan, Glenn, the floor is yours. Show these organizations and hosts how and why the scheduler can make their events so much more efficient and, more importantly, effective.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for that great welcome. We're going to actually have two parts to this roundtable. One is we're going to talk a little bit about the chats that recruiters go through in the booth. So managing those chats, the best practices, but then also when that scheduling feature is enabled by the host, how you can utilize the scheduling feature to really help you with the efficiency and getting as many chats and meetings together as possible in the time that you have during the event. So we're going to start here off by showing you first the recruiter booth. And you're going to see here in the recruiter booth that I have an active visitor in my booth right now. So you can see Jordan is in, she's looking at the content on my booth. One thing that I always tell recruiters is never wait for a candidate to reach out to you. That candidate on the other side of the platform, they're looking at your job postings, they're looking at your About Us section. Maybe you have some great videos or websites that they're going through. And the way that you really should approach this is reach out to them, welcome them to the booth so that they know that somebody is there to answer the question. So just as a best practice, the first thing that I'm going to do as soon as this visitor pops in is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on the little chat bubble here. You're going to now see that Jordan's name is up here at the top of my chat. And then you're going to see here that we have the ability to type in a message, or you can use those preset messages. And I will tell you, we hear it all the time. The preset messages just save you so much typing time in an event. And we'll show you where you can add these. But the preset messages are going to be canned responses that you get to add into your profile. And these will be a one touch of a button. And you can see that that message has now sent to the candidate. So now that this candidate has this message, hey, we're here to answer your questions. So now you can take the time to maybe go into her profile and review her resume, review her experience, because they have that message and they know somebody's there and ready to help them. Now, when we talk about candidates coming into a booth, you can see that there are a lot of chat messages here that we have ongoing. And in a busy event, you can have candidates coming in and sending messages. Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about the new feature that we added so that recruiters know who's talking to each candidate?
Absolutely. So, and one of my favorite features, honestly, a part of the chat is now when a candidate comes in and there's a conversation that started, a recruiter picks it up, you're able to see exactly which recruiter has picked up that conversation with that attendee. So as Glenn mentioned, the attendees, and as Steve mentioned, they don't have to wait in a line, wait to speak to you. They can go ahead and send that message to you right away. So once someone in that organization sees that candidate's message that comes in, immediately right underneath Jordan's name, as Glenn had started that conversation with me, you can read Glenn's name right underneath that candidate's name. So there's no confusion as to who's talking to that candidate, who picked up the chat. There's no overlapping in the chat conversations. It makes everything very efficient and easy.
Yeah, and just to add to what Jordan just said is, if I am typing to a candidate, Jordan will now be able to see that I'm typing, so that I know that that candidate has now been taken care of and Jordan is typing to them. Once she sends that message, her name would be underneath the candidate's name, just like you see mine here. So then that way the team will know who the last recruiter was to talk to that candidate. One other thing that I want to point out here is that the quick reply messages. We hear this all the time about how efficient the quick replies make an event. And a lot of times, it's going to be candidates coming in and you're asking the same questions. You're welcoming them. What type of positions are you looking for? Maybe you have 3 or 4 knockout or pre-qualifying questions. Those are great to put into your quick replies so that you don't have to continue typing. So 2 places that you can do this. One is going to be before the event under settings. You're going to see under settings, there is the gear wheel. And this is my profile. So each recruiter has their own respective profile. Now there's 2 tabs. There's the general and the quick replies. And under the general, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but you do want to add in your job title. And this is going to be part of the second part of our conversation when we get into the scheduling feature. So please make sure that you do put in your job titles. These are now visible to the job seekers. Now, the second piece of the profile is your quick replies. And each recruiter will be adding their own quick reply messages. So you can see that I have a bunch of them in here. Remember, Premier Virtual does not share contact information. So if you wanted to share your contact information with a well-qualified candidate, great place would be here in your quick replies. If you have a website, these do deliver in hyperlinks so that you can send this off and the candidate can click it and then be brought to whatever website that you add. Great for your initial greetings, great for the hey, nice chatting with you greetings. But let's say that you are in your booth and you're in the event. Let me just get back in there. And you find that you're typing the same messages and you say, hey, I really wish I put that into my quick reply messages. You can come in and you can take a message, come in here and copy it. And then right in the top corner is your gear wheel again, quick reply messages. And I can go ahead and add that right here on the spot. And then that will be available immediately for me to use in my quick replies. Jordan, can you talk a little bit about the 3-tier approach that we often talk about when you have multiple recruiters in a booth?
Yes, absolutely. So this 3-tier recruiter process within a busy event is what you really need to focus in on. It's going to make everything very efficient for you. And the 3-tier process works like this. So essentially, if you have, let's say, 3 users in your booth, you can have more, but essentially 3. The first user is going to be the greeter. So that's going to be someone who is going to focus in on that visitors list. As soon as an attendee pops in, they're going to make sure that every single attendee receives a greeting. Now, after everyone has received a greeting, they're going to utilize the internal chat system. So the internal chat system is a way for all users of a booth to communicate with each other during the event. And with using the internal chat system, I can go into internal chat. I can let everybody know in the booth that everyone has been greeted. And that next person who's going to be the qualifier or asking those qualifying questions using those quick replies, they can now go into the Show All tab, see everyone who has been greeted, and start from the top or the bottom, however they would like to, start off with that list, and go in and start asking qualifying questions to those attendees. I would also recommend as a best practice for those people or those users who are doing those qualifying questions to pop into an attendee profile and take a look at their work experience. We have that work experience tab so you can quickly view work experience rather than having to take a look at an entire resume while a live event is happening. You can pop right into their work experience tab, and your qualifying questions could stem off of what their current work experience looks like. After you do your qualifying questions, you're going to pick a handful of individuals that you feel would be ready for an interview or next steps. From the internal chat, again, you want to go into internal chat and let that person know. So let's say that person for our team is Steve. I'm going to let Steve know that Wendy and Jack and Sean are the most qualified out of the people that I've spoken with, that he should start his interviews with those 3 candidates. So then he can go into the Show All tab again. He can view the conversation I had with those individuals, and he can introduce himself as Steve, and if they are ready for an interview, in which they can schedule that interview.
So I think you're kind of leading into the next subject there, Jordan, which is the scheduling feature. So some events that you attend, the host will enable the scheduling tool, and some events that you attend, they may not have the scheduling feature enabled. So
before we get into that, I just got one question for you guys is, there's a lot of candidates in the chat right here, and maybe I missed it, but if I've already talked to a candidate and I don't want to talk to him anymore, what can I do?
Great question. So if I am all done with Jordan, there's going to be this I symbol. So let's say, Jordan, we met, we went on a video call, we have an interview set up, and we're done having that conversation. We can click on this I symbol, and that's going to archive Jordan's conversation down here at the bottom. So you can see she's grayed out, and it just pushes those conversations to the bottom to keep your new, fresher conversations up here at the top. Now, even though she's grayed out and archived, that doesn't mean that she can't still message you or you can't still message her. It just keeps it at the bottom of the list so that the newer conversations are up at the top. And it just keeps that chat column a little bit cleaner.
Absolutely.
So even if they have a lot of chats, right, each recruiter can block the ones that they're not chatting with, and right, to really make that efficient, working the chat if they have, 30 people in the chat at one time. But now, how does that scheduler work to make it a little bit more efficient? Because we know I love that.
Yes, and we do too. The scheduling feature is pretty amazing, and there's been some awesome enhancements to it lately to make it even more efficient. So I'm going to go backwards here a little bit. I'm going to come back over here to my event list. And one of the things that you're going to see right here is there's a small calendar up in the corner of the event card. Any event that the scheduler is enabled by the host will have this calendar up in the corner so that you know that the scheduling feature is enabled. And we know that a lot of our companies, they go to different events with different hosts, and things are set up a little bit differently. So what we were finding is a lot of times recruiters would sign in, and if the scheduling feature was not enabled, we would not have time put on the calendar for them to do one-on-ones. So you're going to see here that if I was to go in to access a booth and the scheduling feature was enabled, I'm going to get this pop-up. And this pop-up is going to tell me that either I do have time already put on my calendar, or if I didn't, I can go into update my availability, brings me into my calendar, come into the day of the week that we have the event on. So today, let's just say I put myself in from 9:45 to 3:30. So I've got this time in here. What we also changed here is the ability for the recruiters to put the duration of these meetings in. And we had some feedback from recruiters. We had always had these set for 15-minute meetings. And some recruiters just wanted a very brief 5-minute meet and greet, talk to them for 5 minutes and move on. Other events, actual interviews were happening, and we found that the recruiters needed more time. So the recruiters that are putting time on their calendar can now come in and block off anything from in 5-minute increments, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, all the way up to 60 minutes, depending on what they're going to be doing in those one-on-ones. So I'm going to book mine as 10-minute increments. You're also going to see another addition that we made here is you're going to be able to see your additional recruiter's schedule. So I can come in and let's say Justin is working with me today. I can come in and I can look at Justin's schedule. So I see that Justin has himself in from 11 to 5:15. Now, once I have added my availability, you're going to see that the access booth is now blue. I'm going to go into a different event here, but I can go into my booth and then I have my availability set. Well, if something changed, or maybe I needed to change my availability, we also added the ability to access and update your calendar right here from your booth. The way we used to have it was you'd have to go back out here to your schedule, but we know things come up, and now you can go in and you can make adjustments to your calendar right here from your booth.
Glenn, can you go back to your calendar for me real quick?
Sure.
All right, open up today for me. All right, I'm sorry, open up the day that had the multiple recruiters that were in there.
So I think I just need to add in Justin.
Okay, there. So now here's the one thing to think about from an organization and a host standpoint of view. Let's say it's a longer job fair. Let's say it's 4 hours. And you could break it up. So you could have one recruiter has scheduled meetings for the first hour, a different one the next hour. Or if you have, like we have some companies that'll have 15 recruiters that are on the platform, they could do 10 recruiters could schedule time. And if they have their, their industry or what they're recruiting for that's right in their bio, the candidates can see. So that candidate's looking for an accounting recruiter, can book a time directly with the accounting recruiter than a sales recruiter. Now, not everybody has that, but they could book the time with the recruiters. So now if you have 10 recruiters that are handling scheduled meetings and only 5 managing the chat, that takes your chat management, what we just went over, down substantially. So imagine if you have 400 or 500 candidates in your booth that you're chatting with, and you have 20 recruiters chatting. Take some of those recruiters out, put them in the scheduler, book some of those times so those candidates can come in. And the great thing is let's say you have 5-minute times on your schedule and a candidate doesn't show up. You could go to that next candidate and say, hey, I'm ready a little earlier. Do you have time to move up a little bit? So you now can take that scheduling feature, still have the open job fair, and you could use it like a queue as well. So if you finish one sooner, you just grab the next person. And
Yep.
But we all know, and I know people don't want to talk about this, but we all know that this happens. That candidate might be the 4th or 5th one down, might be a perfect candidate. And if somebody misses, you can go in and you can look at all your candidates, and maybe that candidate that's 4, 5, 6 down, you can say, hey, I'm available now. Are you available? So that makes it efficient for your recruiter to get to that right candidate. And then they can go
Absolutely.
back in and get in here. Again, making it efficient, being able to look at the candidates, look at that, use the schedule of the time as a cue, but more importantly is that book time so people know I have a meeting at this time with this recruiter during a live job fair.
Exactly.
So,
White-
Jordan, if I
Sorry.
If I take away my screen share, would you be able to screen share for the job seeker side and go schedule a time with one of the recruiters in my booth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna have you share and then you can go ahead and book a time. And what I want you to see here when Jordan shares her screen is, let's say that I have 5 recruiters in my booth. Well, 2 of them are going to be doing the exact same thing that Jordan mentioned. They're going to be the greeters. They're going to be asking pre-qualifying questions. And then those other 3 recruiters will be taking the appointments. Well, if I'm talking to somebody and I say, hey, this person's a great fit, I can tell that candidate, please go book a time with Steve. He handles our IT department, and that candidate can then go book a time on the calendar with Steve right from the conversation that he had with that greeter.
Absolutely. So I'll show you what that looks like from a candidate point of view. So when they come into a booth, they're going to notice that book a time icon here. When they click into book a time, it's going to show every user that has provided availability on their schedule. They'll be able to visibly see the recruiter's name as well as their job title. So again, that plays hand in hand with efficiency, because if I am knowing I need to speak to someone in the IT and system security area, why would I waste my time speaking to someone in sales? So this is very, very direct and efficient for the candidate. I'll go ahead and book a time with Justin Gray here. I see he has 15-minute durations, and I can click into which best suits me. I can go ahead to that 1:30. I'll click confirm here. And now I have my meeting confirmed in here. I also have my meeting confirmed up here, as well as through my email. So if by any reason I am, out of the system, maybe I had to, close my computer for a quick lunch break, I can open up my email and get right back into that meeting with Justin when the time comes.
Awesome. Now, Jordan, when we launch a meeting, so let's say that, Steve has a meeting with me and, it's beginning in 2 minutes. I got my 2-minute reminder and I'm ready to launch that meeting. Does it automatically go into a video call?
It does not automatically go into a video call, but what will happen is I will be directed back into that chat conversation with the recruiter I was speaking to already. And it'll simply ask if we're both ready, and I'll wait for my invitation from that recruiter at that point. I'll receive a notification that I can visibly see that asks me if I'm ready to join the call. Just click right into join and the video starts from there.
Yep, great. So the one thing that I like about this is that because we don't automatically throw that scheduled meeting right into a video call, it still gives that hiring manager the ability to ask a couple questions to make sure that this person does fit what we're looking for before we jump on camera. So once again, it keeps it a little more efficient that you get to really ask those additional pre-qualifying questions and then say, hey, you know what, this person's great. I want to meet them face to face. And then you can ask them if they'd like to join you in a video call. So the great thing that the change that we've recently made is the ability now for the candidate to see every recruiter that has time scheduled and their title. So like Jordan said, if I'm looking for something in IT, I'm not going to book something with, somebody that is dealing with food service. I'm going to book somebody that deals with IT. So we know that, companies have different positions in different areas. Now I can go to the recruiter that handles that and select the right recruiter to schedule my time with.
Sounds like it's very efficient if it's used properly. Right?
Very efficient.
But the one thing to get out is we know, right, with clients, not every client uses every feature. Not every host uses every feature, right? Not every organization, not this. So really to everybody that's watching these is the reason we do these is to show you here's some other options if you're not using it that way, right? We can show you of how things can be done, how your peers are using it out there to make things, more efficient. But as always, you always can reach out directly to Glenn or Jordan and say, hey, can I get a little bit more training on this? Can you help me on this? This is what our client success team is here for at Premier Virtual, and why we're ranked as one of the top, customer service there is because of our team that is here to help you be more efficient, be more effective. We do this on a daily basis. We learn from our clients on a daily basis as well. Is they'll come to us and say, hey, we're using the software like this. We're doing this. What do you think about this? And we love that. We love that feedback, because guess what? Now we can make more videos like this to get out to everybody else to say, hey, this person over here is using the software and doing this. They're doing this on the chat. What do you think about this? We always say, or most of the time, we say, we love what you're doing, right? Let's show it to other people, right? And that's really what these roundtables are for. So thank you again for tuning in to another roundtable on how to work the chat, as well as the interview scheduler. Again, you can always reach out to Glenn or Jordan for more training. Thank you for participating in the event today.
All right. Have a great day, everybody,
Have a
and
great
looking
day.
forward to working with you on your next event soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you the host of this one?